On this segment, I'm here with Tom Brownback of Brownback, Mason & Associates, which is a group psychological practice and neurofeedback center. And Tom, thank you for taking a minute to be with us. Could you start out by telling us a little bit about the therapy part of your practice?
Psychotherapy for us has a number of dimensions, certainly two primary dimensions. One would be that we do what is called psychodynamic psychotherapy, which has to do with us understanding the person and their background, their childhood, all the impacts on their life from the time they were born until they come to me. And then the other major portion is what we call cognitive behavioral psychotherapy. And it has to do with healthy behaviors, it's very present day based. And we want people to live in as healthy a way as possible. And for us, that means biologically, psychologically, socially, and spiritually.
The term neurofeedback has come up now. We're talking about that. And perhaps you can explain that a little bit, because the average person may not understand what that name means or what neurofeedback is.
Well, neurofeedback is one of many types of biofeedback. And if you take the word bio, body, feedback, information. So each morning when a person looks in a mirror, the mirror is a biofeedback machine. It gives them information about their body. There are many other types of much more sophisticated biofeedback machines, and certainly the brain is the system that is the most complex, and that's the one that we work on most often. So what we do is we will hook a person up. They wear like a swimmer's cap, and we then are able to track how much microvoltage they put out at different frequencies at different placements on the brain. And we can compare what the microvoltage they're putting out at a frequency, let's say 10 to 12 cycles per second, and we can compare that to a norm so that we can say, their brain's not putting out enough of this, and then we can train them how to produce more of that wave, which will help to normalize that part of their brain.
Sounds very interesting. One of the questions I think someone might have is, how long does that take? Is that a long process, or is it a short-term thing?
As is the case with therapy in general, people come, and there are people that we see for 10 sessions or 15 sessions. And there are other people who come with some more intense kinds of issues they're dealing with, and that goes on for a much longer period of time.
When it comes to medication, and sometimes people will come have medication recommended to them, how do you know when medication's okay, or is it never okay? And how does that play into what you're doing?
I have had a number of root canals through my life at the dentist, and I'm very happy that medication exists in circumstances like that. For me, when medication is used in a short-term way for some particular intense problem, I think it's very beneficial and a great blessing. However, if medication starts to become a long-term type of method of dealing with problems, what my experience is that far more often than not, the side effects of the medication start to become more of a problem than the benefit. And therefore, that is a determining point to me. If somebody is on medications for more than a handful of months, then I think that there are ways that in many cases, not all, but in many cases where coming for psychotherapy and neurotherapy and other types of therapies that we use is able to provide a better result for that person in their life.
Very interesting, because you don't want to create obstacles, you want to overcome them. Just when you look at your website, when you talk about BMA basics and biopsychosocial, explain that just for a second.
Well, if you come at it from a biblical or a psychological point of view. I think of the verses in the Bible about that God made us body, soul, and spirit. Or Christ grew in wisdom, the psychological, and stature, the physical, and favor with God, the spiritual, and man, the social. God could have made us just spirits, but that is not the way He chose, and He chose to have us have all four of these major components. And so we work on all four of those major components because it's our experience that when any one of them gets better, it helps the other three.
Boy, that's excellent. You know, in wrapping this up, and wrapping up our segment, I'm wondering if someone's watching and they're saying, oh, that sounds really good. How do I know if I'm a candidate? How do I know that I need to be there? And, you know, what would you say, or how would you leave this with people thinking in regard to determining if they should be making a phone call to set up an appointment just to take the next step? What's their next step?
There's certainly a number of ways to look at that. If somebody has had a problem that they're struggling with, whether they have problems sleeping, or they have a problem in their relationships, they feel guilty a great deal of the time, or they're just not sure what direction they want to go in life, that to call, find out about the services that we offer or somebody else offers, and to see how that would fit into their world when for instance, my wife would be the first person they would talk to. And she would go over the kinds of therapies that we offer, and she would talk to them about what they're dealing with and how we could potentially help them.